Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of my podcast, Hush. I'm talking, babe. I'm so excited to start this podcast. I've been wanting to start a podcast for I would say years. I feel like I'm so nervous, to be honest, and it's so strange because I'm literally talking to a camera. I'm talking to myself, but I think the fact that I'm trying to put something out there is a little bit scary, but we're going to delve into that this episode. So I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Jane Uday. On most social medias, I'm known as Janie Love. And I would call myself a creative. I call myself a multidisciplinary artist. My main goal, I'm an actor. I dabble a little bit in singing, a little bit of dancing. I'm a writer, in terms of scripts, poetry, things like that. I am a baker. I like to bake. These are just my hobbies. I'm a roller skater. I just do loads of creative things. I also model. Um, I'm someone who loves the creative world, and I wanted to find a medium that allows me to be my authentic self, and that is this podcast. So a little bit of context of where the name Hush, I'm Talking Babe came from is that I had a a Snapchat private story. I've had it for the past 4 or 5 years, and I used it just to chat was because I felt like my main private story, when you start adding loads of people to a private story and then it starts to feel like it's a main story because there's way too many people on it, and then you don't know, you don't want to remove anyone. So I just started a private story where it's just a lot of my close friends, and I would just speak about topics. Did they listen to them? I don't know. But I kept talking, and I don't really use Snapchat as much anymore, but sometimes I go on there and I just make things and say things. And I felt like some of the stuff I talked about, I want to put that out into the world, and I want to hopefully create a community of people who relate. So really this podcast is for Black women, Black creatives, anyone who's in the creative industry, anyone who wants to create their own work. And we're going to talk about topics surrounding those things. Also about self-love, self-growth, introspection, just really understanding yourself and how you can grow to be your best self. Because I'm on that journey myself. As much as this podcast is for people, it's also for me, being my own teacher. And as I talk, I start to understand the things that I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? So we're just gonna delve into this episode today. I wanted to do another episode, but because this is more of an introduction to me, I wanted to make this episode about taking the risk to authentically be yourself. And this podcast is literally me taking the risk to authentically be myself, because I wanted to put out content. I wanted to create content, but I didn't really know in what way I wanted to do so. And sometimes when I think about different topics, I'm like, I wish I had a space to talk about these things and for people to actually listen to what I'm saying. And although, yes, you can do that with your friends, I do that with my friends all the time. I want to find a community that also wants to talk about those things. And I feel that me putting myself out authentically, I feel like that's the best piece of art you can give to the world. And eventually people who want to listen will find it. So I'm not really worried about if this first episode has 1 listener, 10 listeners, 100 listeners, because I'm proud of myself for actually doing what I want to do. And this whole year I've kind of been on a journey of doing what I want to do, trying to figure out how am I going to make art without as you know, being a creative, when you're an early career creative, the money is not always there with the fact that you're working, and a lot of the things you do is unpaid, and a lot of the things you do, the only kind of gratification you get out of it is the fact that you made it. And I just want to keep doing that, to be honest. Although there's no money in this podcast, obviously, I want to have a space where I can put out my work and put out my voice, because I feel like I have a gift of storytelling, which is why I want to be an actor, and I want to connect with people. And I think another way to do that is to just create something where people can listen and we can grow with each other. So with the idea of authentically being yourself, I feel like there's a level of vulnerability that you have to show. And that is scary. Like, vulnerability is so, so scary. But I've kind of been on that journey this year as well, of like kind of opening myself up to new experiences. Um, and I think when a podcast is something where I have to show a part of myself, obviously, with the topics that I talk about, they're close to my heart. And I think a level in like telling something about myself obviously would allow people to connect with me. So yeah, the power of vulnerability, like I feel like when you show a part of yourself, people can actually connect with what you're doing and connect with your work. And you have to remember that like no one can do it like you. Like, although you see other people doing other things, like there's other podcasts in the world, obviously. There's other people who do photography, there's other people who act, there's other people who sing, and you're like, how am I gonna make it when there's so many other people who want to do the same thing as me, and they're just as hungry as me. But you have to remember that you're not, that you are you, and there's something special about you, and that no one can actually do it like you. Like, even if someone is telling the same story as you, no one will be able to tell it the same way you do it, because of your experiences and who you are as a person. And I feel like um the fear of like failure as well, like that can also stop us from authentically being ourselves, because you're afraid to put yourself out there because what if people judge you, obviously. But I'm trying to get over that fear of embarrassment, and just understanding that anyone who likes the content you create, they will not judge you. Like, and anyone who does judge you, they shouldn't be in your space. Yeah, so with putting yourself out there, I feel like it's so difficult to put out work and think that people are not going to like it. The idea of fear, like, fear is false evidence appearing real. Um, Sometimes we can like overthink ourselves out of the things that we want to do, because we're so scared that people are not going to accept that work, or we're so scared that we're going to fail. But you can only fail if you don't try. Like, and I feel like as creators, we experience so much rejection and so much like no's, and so many moments of failure. And but I think those are moments of growth and understanding, and you have to like really look at a situation. Instead of beating yourself up about it, you have to think, how can I improve this, and how can I be better? And I've experienced a lot of no's this year, a lot of rejection, a lot of not getting what I want. But I've come to understand that what you want is not what you need, child. What you want is not what you need always. And you actually start to realize that like a few months later, you're like, okay, this is why this happened, because this was not meant for me. This was not meant for me. So you kind of have to look at situations and just take them as lessons. And in that moment, you will definitely not understand the fact that it's a lesson. But after a moment, some time, you start to realize, this is why I didn't get this. This is why I didn't get that job, because if I got this job, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So when you look back and you're applying to all these different stuff, and you're like, or the work that you put out there is not getting seen by certain people, just know that it's a journey. It's not, and that journey is not linear. And that as long as you're putting out something that is authentically you, it can't be a moment of failure, because it's you, it's your work, it's your art, it's your heart. Oh, sorry, but that's what word, yeah. um but yeah, like, never be afraid to, it's easier said than done, but never be afraid to be who you want to be, and put out the work that you want to put out. And I think there's some power in overcoming that fear, and like bearing your heart and putting vulnerability in your work. Because I feel like I connect with work where it's come from true stories from people, or you can tell in someone's style that style has been curated to be that person's style. And I know like it's really, really hard to do things and for them to not come out the way that you want it to. And I feel like that perfectionism also stops us from authentically being ourselves. Like with this, even like I was I was like, okay, where should I do this? What space should I do this in? What kind of mic should I get? But I'm just here with this little Amazon mic in my acting school. I booked a room out. I'm just sitting here and I'm talking and I'm just showing you guys who I am, because that's the only way that I feel I will be able to progress in my journey as creating work for myself and putting myself out there as a person. If I'm just plain old me, but it's not plain. It's not plain. It's you. And there's something I feel like, even with all of my friends, like sometimes, like I just look at them. I look at them and I'm like, there is something so special about you. Like you have that tiny little thing that like makes you you, and they don't even see it. I don't even. It's hard. I'm trying to see it, but it's I don't even really see the things that people see in me. And I think you have to allow people to tell you that you're great, and you have to actually tell yourself that you're great. You have to be nice to yourself for you to be able to get onto that level of like authentically being you, you know? And with perfectionism, like me, I'm a Virgo, you see, guys. And Virgos are perfectionists. And I like to call myself an imperfect perfectionist, in the sense that like I try my hardest for things to be perfect, but it never turns out perfect. Because number one, what is perfect? Perfect is a myth. Perfect doesn't exist. But because I'm always striving to be my best self, I can tend to like really, really overwork myself into like it not even being good, because I've tried too hard. And there's a difference between working hard and trying too hard. When you try too hard, like you can see it. You can see when someone's desperate for something. And it's good to be desperate. I'm, I'm definitely like kind of juxtaposing myself, but the difference between working hard and trying hard is that working hard, obviously, you have to work to get to where you want to be. But when you try too hard, sometimes it can end up not even being who you really want to be, and it can end up being something that you're making something that you don't want because you want something so badly. And I think when you kind of let go of people's opinions and trying too hard, you kind of experience moments of like creative freedom. Like you actually end up kind of understanding, oh wait, this is me. Like this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Um, and you kind of let go of that feeling of trying to please others. And I think as a creative as well, people pleasing is a big thing. I'm a people pleaser. I'm working on it. I thought I wasn't a people, like I knew I was a people pleaser, but I thought I overcame people pleasing. But then I've had a lot of interactions this year where I've realized, oh yeah, I'm still a people pleaser. Ciao. I'm still a people pleaser. And I'm really working on it. But I think that's the thing that we all experience, like the desperation of people wanting, you want to be liked and you want to be loved and you want your work to be loved. And I think I'm starting to let go of like giving a fuck. Like I'm starting to let go. I feel like once you stop giving a fuck, things start to move for you. Once you stop thinking about what other people think of what you're doing, things start to move for you. And I think to do that, you really have to look into yourself and you have to be like, who am I as a person? Like, what do I like? What do I want to put out into the world? What stories do I want to tell? What things do I want to do? And when you actually look at your individuality, you start to realize that no one has the same ideas as you. although I do believe that no idea is original, um, you in yourself are original. And I think once you find the fact that you are an individual, that's when the idea of authentically being yourself starts to like come through. Do I have anything else more to talk about? I think I'm just gonna go back and talk about um like how this links to my podcast, I guess. I think like I really want to tell stories and I really want to create content, but I didn't really know how I should create that content because I thought, let me start a YouTube channel. But then I honestly, it's not in my heart to make a YouTube channel. Like maybe putting this because I want the video and I want the audio and I'm putting it on YouTube, but it's not necessarily my YouTube channel. But I was thinking like it's not in my heart, like it's not my priority to make a YouTube channel. Um how else can I tell my stories and how else can I find a community? Um and then I thought, oh, like doing a podcast would be right. So even if you're someone who has nothing to do with things I like to talk about, like even if you're not black, if you're not a creative, if you're not African, if you're not from London, there's still something you can learn from my experiences. There's still something you can take away from it. And yeah, I just want to be able to open up people's eyes to different perspectives. People to encourage people to like look into themselves because I feel everyone deserves to experience their best potential. And I am constantly striving to be the best I can be. And I think the world would just be better if everyone knew how to love themselves because when you can love yourself, you can love other people. And when you can love other people, the world is just like instantly better. Um, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for this episode, guys. Like, I don't know. We can talk about what's going to happen in the other episodes. I have loads of episodes planned. And at the end of my podcast, I do want to do a little segment called Janie Ways. Do you get it? Because, like, because anyways, Janie Ways. My name is Janie. So, you know, where you can like ask questions. Like I'll probably put somewhere where you can ask questions. And I answer those questions at the end of the podcast, like in terms of any sort of like situation that you're in or any advice that I can give. Am I qualified to give advice? No. But I want this to feel like FaceTime. I want this to feel like you're on a phone call with your friend. I want it to feel like you can have somewhere anonymously like if there's something that's on your chest that you can put it here because although I'm not PhD certified or anything like that, like I use my own experiences to like I'm learning just as much as you and I think I can put some perspective, a different perspective in your mind about the situation that you're in. So yeah, that's really it, guys. I think that's kind of this is coming to an end. I don't really know how to end these things, but we'll get there. This is a growing, this is a growing journey. This is a growing podcast. It might change up. The location might change a little. The mic might change a little. There'll be a bit of more of a flow in my next podcast. I don't even know if anything I said today made any sense, to be honest. Have you heard it before? Maybe. I don't know. But this is me. And this is what I had to say. And if you like it, stick with it. If you don't have to listen. But yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, guys, I'll see you next week for my next episode. I hope you enjoyed listening and I hope you come back like low key. Like I do want people to come and listen to this because this means a lot to me. Like I really, really want to create something that I can be proud of. And if other people resonate with it, like that's the goal in it. So yeah. Okay.